Hey, everybody, we got our Casco Bay race report for you. We had a great day out on the islands in Portland, Maine, and we can't wait to share it all with you.
Cue the rock flute.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
I'm Chris, and this is episode 133 of the show. We've got our second race report of 2022 to share with everyone this week. We just got back from Portland, Maine after racing the 6th edition of Ödyssey Swimrun's Casco Bay race, and we're super stoked to share all the details of our third pilgrimage to the original U.S. swimrun. Mm-hmm. It was fun.
It was a great time.
Alert.
Spoiler alert. If you didn't know, we had a great time.
Yeah, so we got there, and Portland was muggy and hot.
Yes, which already added a layer of, if you know anything about the Low Tide Boyz, we're gear obsessed. But The heat was throwing a wrench into our plans. Chris got his brand new Arc Vig suit delivered. Of course, he brought it
just in time.
But we red-eyed it out to Portland. Whew. It was an ordeal. It was an ordeal to get there.
I feel like either those flights are getting old or I'm getting old or both.
Maybe both.
It's probably both.
I feel like I'm getting older too.
But we got there and it was actually pretty funny. So you arrived, I think, a few hours before I did, mm-hmm. and went to the hotel, texting you to see where you are. You're like, oh, I'm walking up. So I walk outside and I just start chatting you up as you're walking up. And these two folks come up and they're like, you guys the Low Tide Boyz? We're in Portland for like 10 minutes.
We're literally outside of our hotel.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. We'll do a huge shout out with everyone that we met as best as we can remember. But yeah, that was Dan and Amy from Houston. And they're like, yeah, we listened to the show. So we kind of already knew it was going to be a really fun weekend when folks are showing up, super stoked to do a swim run. But yeah, we had a lot of things planned. We had a post-race party, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But we also had, we did our first Patreon sort of lunch meetup.
Yeah. So this year, we've really been trying to kind of step up our offering for the Patreon folks. We have over 30 people who support us on a monthly basis. And, for $5 or as little as an oat milk cappuccino or whatever you partake in for your caffeine, whatever delivery system you like.
As long as it's oat milk.
As long as it's oat milk. Basically fund our sticker habit, and then we just give the stickers to everybody. That's how we do it. But we have some people who we're very appreciative of the support and them spending their hard-earned money to support us. So we met up and had a nice little lunch. That was a little cool hangout. Just everyone chatting, enjoying the day.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was great to see
everyone.
Talking
shop. A lot of shop talk.
Meeting some new people like Hugh Bowman, who's supporting us for a while, touch base with him on a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And he was doing his first long course team race because he'd done, can't remember if it was Ludington or Mackinac, but he did that solo. So it was kind of cool. And he hooked up with great story there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get to that one too. But that was super fun. And then packet or bib pickup was happening right after our lunch. So we all walked over together, and that was super cool. I mean, it's always great to see everyone and just kind of get like the vibe.
The vibes was already kicking off at the packet pickup. And
definitely.
The Ödyssey team had this really cool, you could see them at the fair, a little wood cut out, and there was a fisherman holding a lobster, and you could stick your heads through. So of course we had to take that photo. Pickup. I mean, Aaron has it down to a breeze there. It's just go in, QR code. It takes like 2 seconds. Getting your packet and all that stuff is the least amount of your time or worries. You just get to stand around and chat with everybody.
Sure, yeah. And we'll mention this at the end, but I think, Ödyssey once again put on an experience, everything from packet pickup to the morning of the race to after the race, that just is the ethos of everything we're trying to promote with this show, everything that they're trying to do to help grow the sport. And it's, we'll be saying this a lot, but from the first minute to the last minute, it was you can just count on this vibe being super positive, super welcoming, taking care of everyone, answering questions. I know Lars was staying late answering questions for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
You know, Brent came from Washington to help out. So it was great. But we saw a whole bunch of people. So do we want to do our
Should we
sort
get
of big
into that?
shout out list?
Yeah, but before we had all that, we went on our little shakeout jog in the morning, and this will parlay right into the list. We did a little shakeout jog on, that would have been
To East Beach.
Saturday morning over to East Beach. And there we saw Team Level 1, Wayne and Paul, were, we went for a run, and then we went and we waded in our shoes to see, kind of to get a sense of what the temperature was, because we were hearing a lot of, different temperatures being thrown around. 64, 65, low 60s.
That was
high
a lie,
50s.
by the way.
Yeah, it wasn't 65. I'll tell you that right now. But we saw Wayne and Paul over there getting their gear all set up, and we went over and chatted with them.
And just moseyed on over.
Yeah, we're like, hey, are you doing the Odyssey, the swim run? They're like, yeah. So it was great chatting with them. And I guess we inadvertently ran by Chris and Chris from Tower 26 there, and I think they gave us a shout, but we were out of earshot on that. But yeah, let's get into the not exactly chronicle order meet and greet list. And these are net new people that we don't think that we've met before.
Yeah, and if we missed anyone, we're super sorry. I mean, we're trying super hard to remember everyone, or even writing it down as soon as someone walks away. We're making a note because we're so grateful and appreciative of everyone coming up to us, and
it really means a lot. And it's so awesome that people want to say hi to us and everything. And I am one of the I'm horrible at names, and I wish I was better. And when you have a name that's very memorable, like Chipper, it's even worse because everyone remembers your name, but you can never remember theirs.
Right,
so,
right.
Anyway,
but I think we came up. This is a little
our
insider Low Tide Boys talk right here. But I think we came with a way of kind of reaching.
Instead of remembering both people's names, what's your team name, and then we can. That's just one name to remember.
It's easy, and we
it's
just
more
look
memorable
it up after.
Yeah,
and it's funny too. I mean, I love the team names. Team names are great. But yeah, so we met Tracy and Sarah, who were eating donuts walking out of Big Pickup as we were walking in, and we chatted them up, and it was their first swim run, and they were super stoked to do it. We talked to them after the race, and they said they're already signing up for the next one, which was like mission accomplished.
We're done. Our job here is done. And they also commented they saw us walking back with a huge pizza box the night before the race. We did our kind of now it's a tradition that we go to Otto's Pizza. And that's kind of just where it had worked out for us before, but they saw and they're like, that was so great that we saw you guys walking back with a pizza box because it didn't make us feel bad about whatever they were eating or what they were going to be doing. And I'm like, that's what we're about here.
Yeah,
we're not trying to make anyone feel bad. It's just,
we're not fine-tuned machines here. We're not,
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was really great to meet them. We also met Jay. It was great to see Derek and Jet again, father and son, and meet Jet's new partner, Tyler.
Yep. Josh, and then Kimberly Kay, who we met several times, mostly on the ferry and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and there was this lady. I love the story. There was this lady who came up to us. I mean, we were talking about her all weekend, but this lady came up to us. She didn't introduce herself, but she was like, hey, I love your show. Love what you're doing. I have nothing bad to say about you guys.
And then walked off.
She just turned around and walked away. Didn't get a chance to chat with her. But, hey, that's probably the nicest thing you can say about someone is you don't have anything bad to say about them.
Yeah, I'm like, that was an amazing compliment. I'll take that all day long. Shout out to John Leonard. Nice meeting you there. And Team Built to Win. Mike and Michael.
Yeah, we met them on before the race start and their first swim run. A couple triathletes came up from Long Island. Nice. It was super cool to chat with them. I met this guy Alex who was wearing a Vig suit, or he was rinsing off his Vig suit after the race. So someone's has a Vig.
You were drawn
chatting
to
him up
like a moth to a flame.
So it was cool to chat with him. And then we mentioned Chris and Chris from Tower 26. I love the Tower 26 guys. They're the best.
That was good. And we have a little something we're trying to work in with Tower 26, in particular, Coach Jim Lube.
Yeah.
So, if you're in the Tower 26 circles, the Low Tide Boys need to speak with one Jim Lube. More on that in a minute, or more on that in a bit. Also, it was really great to see Lisa Decker. We were hanging down by the very diabolical finish line.
Oh, my God. That's the worst.
I don't know who to blame. I think it's John Stevens is the one to blame.
Yeah.
Maybe Lars didn't tell him not to do it, so it's Lars' fault too. I don't know. But there was these pieces of lumber that were haphazardly sort of resembled a staircase, and we were down there cheering people on because it was literally, you're getting out of that last swim. The currents were crazy, sending people all over which way.
People all discombobulated.
They come out, they're like, yeah, totally. Oh, man, they don't know which way is up and down. And then they look up, and there's like almost everyone, at the second they looked up and they saw the stairs, they were just like, fuck. And Lisa was like, oh my gosh, she was so happy to see us. So that was a really, really great moment there. So Lisa.
Yeah, Andrew, and actually finally got to have a nice long chat with Adam from the Jersey Boys at the finish line.
Sherry, baby.
Yeah, so it was great to connect with him because we shouted them out before, and incredible team name. So it was really great to chat with him.
Can't beat the Jersey Boys there. We saw Matt Davis again on the stairs of death. We saw a lot of people on the stairs of death. Hopefully, we were an inspiration, and there wasn't the sun behind us. It could have been a funny thing, like the sun being behind us. We look like angels, and they're like, "Oh, this is it. I'm going to climbing the stairs, stairway to heaven."
That would have been something.
Anyway.
Yeah, so then John and his partner Jennifer. John was repping the OG Low Tide Boys shirt at Pack a Pickup, so it was great to see him. We actually had met him, and I think Jennifer as well at Swimrun Lake James earlier in the year. So it's great to see him again.
And we met the Terras at the finish line.
Yep, and then Team Spark Pugs. Yeah.
Woof. And Team Tracy and Sarah, who one of them is not named Tracy or Sarah. They told me the whole story.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. The original partners were Tracy and Sarah, but then they found a substitute.
Interesting.
And they just kept the name.
I love it. I love it.
Great. But I'm sure we missed people. Apologies on that one, but we really genuinely love meeting everybody and seeing everybody, and thank you for coming and saying hi, and it just makes the whole trip that much better for us.
Definitely. So before we get to sort of our leg by leg breakdown and sort of race morning, getting on the ferry, all that stuff, I was having this huge dilemma that I needed to get over because I couldn't decide whether I was going to wear my brand new Vig.
Yeah.
That still smelled like it was shipped from
fresh,
Sweden.
Yeah.
Smelled like Sweden to me.
Did it smell like midsummer?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And Semlas. Or use my tried and true Uta, which is what I wore at Lake James. And yeah, I just couldn't decide because everyone was like, yeah, you'll be fine in the Vig, but I'm trying to be smarter. I'm trying to be wiser. I knew I was probably a little bit undertrained because I had lost a little bit there, maybe. Chipper's making a face,
see
but
me rolling my eyes.
That's how I was feeling inside.
You're allowed to feel that way.
So I just kept going back and forth, and finally I felt much better once I just decided I was going to wear the Uta.
You were really wrestling with that.
I know I was,
and
it was so annoying because I just I felt like I couldn't move on with my life until I made that decision.
I mean, I've been there as well, but I think what I tried to relay to you was I think whatever suit you have, you'll be fine in. It would have happened. And it would have been fun.
And that was both very reassuring and helpful and utterly unhelpful.
But next time, do you want me to just tell you?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just tell you what to wear. Sounds good.
Yeah, so decided we were both wearing Utas, no arm sleeves, and then the rest was sort of our usual kit.
Yeah, and one thing that we knew was it was going to be hotter, so we kind of made sure that we had planned out as we were kind of doing our... literally what we talked about in the course preview.
Mm-hmm.
We listened to the course preview. We listened to ourselves we listened to John read the course preview, marked up our paddles, talked through kind of our strategy, how we felt like we were going to do. We also heard that some of the swims, because the course was sort of reversed from what we did last year, the tide was out, low tide, if you will, so we were in our element, so to speak. And some of those first couple swims were actually going to be runs.
Yeah.
So
I took those swims.
Yeah, Chris led those ones right across, charged right across.
Technically led 4 swims.
Nice. And I knew I was going to have to put my, even though it was Sunday, was going to have to put my big boy undies on and just man up on all the swims, or the majority of them, or the big ones.
Yeah, I think, we decided going in, it's like, hey, your swim build for this, was super strong. You were feeling super strong.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling good.
And from my side of the garage, it was like, okay, I'm trying to endure. We're trying to hold a steady pace. We're trying to work on our nutrition. We have a much bigger race that's going to be, more than twice as long as this one. So can we basically, for me, I was just trying to endure. And I think going into the race morning, my mindset was pretty even. Like I wasn't getting too high, wasn't getting too low. Sometimes I get like extra nervous. I was my usual level of nervousness, and I always feel better once we get that first swim in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of a weird state of mind where I think like Orcas last year, I was just like super pumped and just like stoked the whole time. This one, I'm like, all right, let's do the work. Let's focus on what we need to do. And I think that we both, I mean, we'll go into the leg by leg breakdown, but I think sort of as a overall thought on the day, I think in previous races, there's been times when the tether's been really taut. And I feel like in this one, it was never taut. Like I was always on your feet on the swims. I wasn't, messing up
and
too
I was
much
not,
there.
Sucking too much air back there behind you to where I was.
Yeah.
It was actually like almost too loose at some point. We kind of got it wrapped around us. Like maybe we need to work on something.
Yeah. A couple of times I was like, should we just untether so we can like not trip?
But I think, and last year's race report, last year we had this, we kind of surprised a lot of people. And that was something that was really cool for us. And I think we were definitely more ready this year. We knew what we could do as a team and like what we were capable of physically. And last year we knew we had done a lot of work, but we didn't really know what it would look like when we did a race.
Right, exactly.
And that's
we hadn't done a race.
Because we hadn't done a race.
Months and months and months.
So this year we knew we had done even more consistent work. So we had a good sense of what we can do. And I think, personally, I felt like we had a lot more confidence as a team. Like, okay, we know we're not going to be out there, chasing down Greg and Bronwyn or Marcus and Beek or even some of these like really top end teams,
like the Navy SEALs.
Yeah, or the Navy SEALs. But we're going to go out there and we're going to have a strong day for us, and that's kind of what our goal was, because we do have Tala in just under
45 days. From recording.
6 or 8 weeks or so, 6 weeks. So we knew this is going to be a fun day and a really good test on kind of showing what we had put down. But
yeah, for sure. And, our coach, we trust him implicitly, definitely got us ready for this thing.
Yeah.
Again, my trepidation about my fitness level was mostly in my head ultimately. And I felt like, our teamwork was just, I think we just leveled up again. Where our communication was super crisp and tight, and we were just checking on each other in nutrition. There was one point I was leading a run, and I was about to blow right past this turn.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, left, just fixed it right away, like no problem, didn't miss a beat. It's like heads up racing. And
no one fell?
No one fell.
Well, not like running. Kind of stumble getting out of the water.
Getting out of some of the,
That's normal.
I did fall on my butt going into a swim, but no harm done. But yeah, I think like overall, like I'm super happy with our performance, and I think that it's bodes well for longer races, because I do feel like I said, that we leveled up a little bit in the sense that like this challenge. And this race is a challenge for everyone, even for Bronwyn and Greg. It's a challenge, and for the folks that came in, a couple hours after us, that the challenge it wasn't like, oh, is this an insurmountable challenge? It's like, well, can we handle everything that's thrown at us? And we did.
Yeah, a couple things that we were really focused on working on was having really strong swims, and I actually feel like I don't know, this could be in my head, but previously on the swim runs, even though I'm the little bit stronger swimmer, it's still in my head. It's like, oh, when we get to a swim, like, oh, you're in front, I'll just let you take it. You're obviously, you joke a lot about that you're not very capable. You're plenty capable of it. We know this. We could look at the receipts on Strava and see you're doing just fine. But I did feel like maybe it was some sort of shift that we had about, okay, I'm leading the swims, and it's just like this is understood, just as it's understood that you're leading most of the runs. Yeah, I run in front sometimes, but
Sure.
for most of the big work, you're out there kind of charging ahead. So I really like that. And then we were also really focused on our fueling plan. And Chris has raced enough with me, not just swim runs, but everything else. I am usually a complete mess when it comes to what nutrition and fuel I bring. Like, I will bring the kitchen sink, every single thing. I'll go to the store and buy new stuff. But because we had such a tight plan with one, we're fortunate enough to be working with the Precision Fuel and Hydration folks, like nearly pro level support that we're getting from them, which is super ridiculous, but very awesome. We're very grateful. But I was like, this is all I need to bring, because I already know how long, race is going to take us, 5-ish hours. I know how much I need. I know what my carb requirements are. So it was no stress for me to worry about what to bring. Just getting it through the
and we
airport
just worked. Yeah, exactly. We worked the plan. We stayed within ourselves. Could we have gone a little bit faster? Probably, but you can always swim faster and run faster. I think overall we just executed exactly what we wanted to do, and like I mentioned before, I think it bodes well for what we have coming up. But do you want to do a leg by leg breakdown?
Let's do it.
So this is a new course. It was a north to south route, which was pretty fun. And it started on Chebeague Island, and we took the ferry out there. It was cool. Kind of had to hang out on the dock. And it started with a 1 mile run, which was pretty eventful. I mean, I think we tried, I think this is going to be a theme. And I was mentioning this at the post-race party, that we were kind of like the best of the rest in terms of where we were placing, because the first run, the top teams just took off. And
they did their thing.
They did their thing. And the first swim, which was pretty short, it was 460 yards on the map. Water was pretty chilly.
It was crisp.
But we got through it pretty quick. And then from then on, I think we passed like 2 teams, and then we didn't see anyone until the short course folks.
Yeah, very similar to kind of how it happened at Lake James. We're just got in this kind of no man's land sort of thing. And last year, the first swim was very, very sporty. There was a lot of teams there, a lot of action. It was fun. We were getting mixed up, people to chase down. Like, I love that stuff, and that was really fun. But you're right. After kind of the first leg or two, we were just like in this weird gap of like people 20 minutes ahead of us, and then people, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes behind us.
Right. Yeah. So after that first swim, I started to feel much better about things. That first run, I'm like, oh, here we go. It's gonna be a long day. but that second run was on Chebeague Island still, and it was 3 miles. And then the next swim, which I led, was supposed to be 685 yards, but it was just a sandbar.
Yes. So here's one thing that, in retrospect, we probably could have done a better job on is when we knew the swim wasn't going to be a swim and it was going to be a run, we just sort of, I don't know, we weren't thinking it through or something. We should have cabbed down probably on that first run.
We were getting pretty sweaty even then.
We were getting pretty hot to start the race.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And we also knew it was very humid and it was going to be hot, and we just knew we were going to be warm. So we had said every aid station, this is our game plan, besides our gel
every 20 minutes
strategy, every 20 minutes or whatever, guzzle 2 cups of the cups that they give you of pH.
Which they're 200 milliliters, so we try to get at least 400 each one.
Sometimes a little bonus.
Yeah, there was 8 aid stations, and then after sort of long runs, we would try to do 3. I think we were definitely, in terms of heat management, I think that's a good thing to bring up just for folks that are thinking about doing this race. I mean, it's so important because it can really just sap the energy out of you. Like when we started that run 2, the 3 mile run on Chebeague, I immediately took my swim cap off because I just knew it was going to be a long run.
I kept mine on for a little bit more. I should have just popped it.
Yeah, and I unzipped, and I didn't want to cap down because it's just a hassle. But I think in hindsight, it ended up being almost like a 4 mile run. 4 mile run because we ran the sandbar, and then we were on Little Shabig, which was run 3, which was 0.5 miles.
Yeah.
And then we went to swim 3, which was Little Shabig to Long Island. And I think by the time we were on Little Shabig, we had like one team ahead of us, which was Lee and Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that's the swim where we passed them like in the water. I can't remember.
No, we passed them on the long swim.
Okay, so that came up later. But yeah, when we passed them, then it's like we just didn't see anyone. So that swim was uneventful. It was 685 yards. There was a little bit of a current. And on the water, I would say the air temps were warm, but the water was a little bit colder, I think, than it was last year.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way. Also, I am the one that marks up the paddles, and I need to get a new Sharpie because it's sweat off half of the pass. So like half the first half of the race, I was like, Well,
I think and talk about, I think in years past that might have like kind of messed our flow up. But this time, and I usually ask you, it's like, hey, how long is this run? And you're like, I can't tell you. And we're like, all right, let's just go. We had a general sense.
Yeah,
right?
we were much better about like just experiencing what was in front of us.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we don't have that information, so let's just keep following the flags.
Yeah, and I think that probably, if we would have had it down, we might have maybe nailed our heat management a little bit better. But we'll have to get send us your Sharpie recommendations.
Yeah, or I think you just had them in your maybe just.
I
like
just
the
had them
sweat
and
or
they were
something.
sweat or they rubbed off. I don't know. I wouldn't think that the Sharpie would come off. But then once we got on Long Island, that was a little run over to the next swim 4.
Yeah, which was the lovely named Shark Cove.
Shark's Cove.
Which essentially takes us to this little tiny sandbar. That was one of the longest swims of the day, which is 930 yards. And that's another one where in years past, we've only swam it going the other direction. Yeah. And I will say, it's probably a good time to mention it. I was thinking about it like all race. It's like one of the great things about this Odyssey in general, but this race in particular is like because the race changes every year, the course changes every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a new experience, so it isn't like
it's familiar.
Exactly, and it's familiar. Like
the
more you do it, the more familiar it becomes. So that was a good one where it's like the entry to that was like super sketchy, but we've only done it the other way, and you were like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Right, because you would have to climb out of it before, but going down into it was good.
And there was a lot of points like that where I was like, oh yeah, I remember this from like 2018, or I remember this from last year, which was pretty cool. And that swim, which when we did it in 2018, that swim was like a soul crusher. This one, I was like actually surprised. I'm like, oh wait, that was the Shark Cove swim because it seemed to go by super quick.
The first year we did that swim, I mean, we stopped. We stopped and we sat up, one to converse to see if we were even on the right leg because we saw people running, and we were just really confused and also pretty well spent at that point.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, we definitely handled it. And then we got just a little hop across the water there, and then we went right to one of our favorite places, Vail Island. But we did it in the reverse, so this is pretty cool. And we saw a couple teams on here when we were approaching. But Vail was going to be it is a really good sort of test from everything that we've heard. A lot of the early parts of the World Championship race are kind of similar to Vail Island. We did that in reverse. I feel like the line that we usually take is a lot lower than the one that we took this year. And I feel because the tide was out, the rocks were extra slippery this year. They had these like algae wigs on. Almost.
It was just like some weird type of
seaweed stuff that was on them, and you would step on this, and it would basically just slide out from under your foot. Great. I've been testing the VJ Ultra shoes. Those, I think I'm going to go with those for the World Championship. But anything that didn't have seaweed on it, I feel like I had really solid grip on there. So I was really excited about that. Chris already proclaimed that he was going to take the swim from Vail over to Long.
Yeah, there was 2 swims where I was like, I got these.
Nailed it.
Yeah, so that was 530 yards.
And you know what? At the time, I was like, no problem.
Yeah, I think that was a good one for
Yeah.
you to take because you had just done a big swim, and being mindful of. I mean, I'm not super worried about like who's putting effort where. I feel like we both
it's
pull
equal.
weight, kind of thing. But yeah, that one I kind of wanted that one for me because I've done that swim before, and I just wanted to have one where it's like, hey, let me just see what I got here.
Yeah.
And it was good, and that took us to Long Island where we kind of just cut across the whole island, and then we had the longest swim of the day, which was a little bit technical because it was a current, and that was our swim from Long Island to Cow Island, which was swim 7 that was 1,300 yards.
Yeah, that's the
1,400 yards.
one. So at that point is where we overtook Lee and Jay. We entered the water after them, and I think they either got caught up in some
Took like a
sort
weird
of current
line,
or
yeah.
current, or or the line was off a little bit. But that's where we went past them. The only reason we knew is because Lee was wearing those bright pink socks.
Yeah, that's how
Looked
we
very handsome in them, but that's how we were able to identify.
right.
And then once we were on Cow, then we just kept on chugging.
Yeah, so that's when I think that's one was interesting because we were super prepared for the current, and we took a really good line, which was great. And then Cow Island is just a fun little island. And then from Cow to Great Diamond is a 300-yard swim, which I took because it's a short one essentially.
And the support on the island, the locals, was I think the best that we've seen in the 3 years. Every island that we would go, people cheering us on. They had their families out there banging pots and pans, all sorts of stuff. Like it's just such a cool experience.
Yeah, I don't remember where it was, but I guess there was one water station that was unmanned that the Odyssey had just put the stuff on a bench, but the bench was kind of facing the other way.
Yeah.
And the locals were like, oh yeah, a couple teams ran past us, so we just moved the whole thing over so that you could actually see it, like, so it could just be much more visible for folks. And that was just a nice, kind thing for a random person to do.
It was great. And a part of our strategy too that we did this year that we kind of hadn't in the past was, for most of the aid stations, we would just, if there was a gel there, we would rip it open and just give one big squeeze, basically get like half of it in, and then throw the rest away.
Just like bonus energy.
Just to just get a bonus. And I think we did that 3 or 4 times, and there's an extra 60 grams of carbs to help keep everything moving. And I think that really helped.
Yeah, I think our fueling was the best it's ever been, for sure.
I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, that run on Great Diamond Island was fun, and that's the one that at the end of it there was a dock jump.
Yes, and as we were coming up, we saw the short course ferry pull in.
Yeah, like everyone was coming off.
Everyone was getting off.
They might have actually just been starting.
I think it probably did.
So we were kind of happy about that because there is this little bottleneck, like through this kind of sketchy, boggy, where you're running on planks.
Yes.
So I guess we're happy that we kind of got ahead of those folks, but a couple of the super fast short course solo folks caught up to us pretty quickly and kind of left us in their dust. But yeah, at the end of that run was the dock jump.
The tide was really low. We took a peek over, and it was down there. The water was down there. And the people who were manning the station said, oh, no one's jumped yet.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, is there a photographer around here? And they said no. We're like, okay, we're taking the easy.
Yeah. There's no photographer. Yeah. Lars was giving us shit for it afterwards. I was like, hey, man, we're racing, but if we do this for the publicity. So if we're doing dock jumps and stuff, and it was high. It was like 25 feet. It was not
I mean, I was pretty cooked. Feeling, and I was ready to get into the water. That just wasn't the way that I really felt like getting into the water, to be honest.
The yard sale.
I just kind of hopped off the dock after that one. But that was a good swim.
Yeah, and we kind of needed that because that swim basically took us to run 10, which was on Peaks Island, which was the longest run of the day. It was about a little bit over 5K. And we didn't cab down, but we should have.
Yes, we definitely should have on that. I'm not sure why we didn't.
I think
because I couldn't see it on my paddles, one.
Well, I think we already decided that we were going to cab down on Cushing Island because that run was coming up, and that was 3 miles.
Right.
So I don't know what our thinking was there, but yeah, by the end of that run, it was definitely pretty warm. So we really liked that swim from Peaks to Cushing, which was swim 10, but it was swim 1 last year.
Yes.
So it was kind of cool to see our pace on that essentially being the same as it was last year, which is pretty encouraging. But that was 975 yards, and that took us to run 11, which was Cushing Island, which was supposed to be 3-ish miles, but at the last minute they changed it, so it was only like 2.
Yeah, and this is where we kind of got caught a little off guard because we cabbed down almost
right
immediately,
away.
like, let's do it, because we're like, we learned our lesson from the last 2 times when we should have.
Mm-hmm.
I was cooked, pulling down. We're at the aid station, and we were kind of taking fuel, having a sip of water, kind of walking away from the aid station and cabbing down, and then we just started to go. And then we were running, and they're like, oh, right down here's the water. I'm like, what? And I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, oh, 2 miles only. I think we got another bit. And it was right there.
Yeah.
So we kind of got hung up a little bit on that transition, but no big deal.
That was really the only transition where I think that it wasn't as graceful because like my arm got stuck and all this stuff. It was amateur hour there for a little bit.
And the short course fasties were picking us off.
Yeah, so while we were trying to get our suits back on, sort of the faster short course people were in the water, were getting in the water with us, and we were shouting them out, and all this stuff, and yeah, that swim was actually pretty encouraging.
That was a good swim
because that was from Cushing to House Island, and was 800 yards, and yeah, like we started with all those dudes. It was all dudes. That's why I'm saying dudes. Yeah, we basically left them behind us in that swim, like us working together.
Yeah, that was good. Getting off onto House, and House is such a cool island there. Ran around House. Saw Aaron getting the drone set up, which I saw some of those photos from the drone. They look super sick.
I think, he was getting it set up. And he was pretty funny. He was like, hey, man, it's like, fire. What did you tell him? You're like, hey, fire that thing up for us. And he was like, come on back.
He's like, turn around, come on back. And we're like, oh, never mind. See ya.
So hilarious.
I mean, those last 3 swims, I had committed that, being the lead swimmer, if you will. Those ones I put like solid effort towards, and the last 3 swims I felt just as strong as I did on the first ones, and I'm like, I'm feeling it. It was a really good confidence builder for me, and I really just felt very strong. And I mean, you were right there banging on my feet the whole time, so it was no problem for you.
Yeah, I mean,
it was really good.
Again, from my side of the garage, I was like, all right, he's leading these swims. I'm prepared to take over if he needs a spell. And my judge for that was being like, one, is he slowing up and I'm just banging into him a lot? Or am I just like staying right on his feet? And it was no problems. It was no problems. I mean, I was super proud of you. And I was also like, sweet, now I guess just get to hang out back here.
We will say the new sighting flags that Ödyssey has with the green, much better. Those things were great. The high vis green, those are great. The little flashing strobe would have been cool too, but I didn't really have much problems.
Yeah,
and there wasn't a lot of fog either. But
I think on that last swim, there was a flag right where we were supposed to go, but we couldn't see it because just the way the wind was going, it was kind of blowing the flag away from us. So we would only see like kind of wisps of it until we were in the water. But we could hear Mark Fernonger, the voice of Swimrun, talking. I don't know what he was talking about, but we could hear him.
Probably about Bronwyn and Greg. Or
exactly. So we sort of knew where we were going to go. And that last swim, I remember like right before we started, I tried to channel Susie Moonen, and I was like, hey, let's make some eye contact here.
And I was like, you're like, what did you say?
I was like,
we're
hey,
gonna
man,
do this.
I'm like, we got this, dude. And I was just like wanting to have this like moment with you, and you're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I was like, I know we do. That's why I'm trying to get going on it. And you're like, Susie, like what Susie said. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. It took me a little bit to like.
So we had like a little moment, pregnant pause there, and then we just went and finished it off. And those last stairs, I know John described it. He's like, I wouldn't call them steps, so I wouldn't go. They were probably steps in like 1820 or something.
I mean, there were some termites had their way with those.
Yeah, I mean, it was sketchy. Sure. Yeah, like if anything was
but of course it would finish that way.
Yeah, it was a classic Ödyssey finish, but the finish line was great. Across the finish line.
Peaks Island was a great host. a much more populated, busy island. There was probably a dozen and a half picnic benches there, fully covered.
Yeah, logistically for people getting back to the mainland was
much better. And there was ice cream shops. I know a lot of people brought their families with them, and they can hang out and do things on the island. But yeah, so we crossed the line.
Yeah, just want to share some finishing stats here.
In 4:34, good enough for 5th place overall, and 4th place men's team.
We would have podiumed if it wasn't for these Navy SEALs that showed up from Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and again, we're not really racing against anyone. It's mostly just seeing what we could do with our fitness. But comparing it to last year's time, which was different course, different conditions, so it's not exactly apples to apples. But last year, we finished in 5 hours and 10 minutes. So essentially knocked almost half an hour off our time. While, I mean, I was pretty blasted at the end, but I wouldn't say that. I mean, we talked about it as afterwards. It's like, hey, if we had to go like another 5 miles or something.
Yeah,
like,
we definitely could have done it for sure. Yeah, it was just a good day. Halfway through the race, I started to feel the familiar sting of a wetsuit rash developing.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's pretty bad. I got scorched up pretty good all the way around my entire neck. So Chris deployed a different lubing strategy than me.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even know where I came up with it. I had this lube that, like this little thing of Body Glide that I knew I was just going to discard because you can't bring it with you or whatever, this little travel size thing. So I was like, well, let me just use this up. So what I did, I heavily lubed the inside collar of my suit. And and you helped me do my neck and stuff. And I did my shoulder. I did pretty much every place where I thought there might be some sort of rubbage. But yeah, it was caked on. And
it was on there.
Yeah. I mean, I had a little bit, just like a little spot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't look like I just, got.
I mean, at work, someone commented about oh, what happened?
And you're like, it's none of your business.
Oh, yeah. It's like, it's a thing. It's a thing I'm into. But yeah, and I, on the other hand, took the same wetsuit lube and just kind of went just one or two up and down around my neck. I didn't obviously put it on very well. But yeah, I'm paying the price.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to work on that for sure. For sure. But yeah, I mean, I think if we're ready for final thoughts, I think I'm super stoked at our performance. I'm super happy once again that I was able to do yet another swim run with you. This is our 9th swim run that we've done together.
Damn.
Which is pretty awesome.
Well, 10th one will be this weekend.
Yeah, 10th one is coming up. First time we're ever doing back-to-back swim run races. But yeah, I think in terms of final thoughts, I feel like all the work that we've been putting in has been paying off in many ways. And I feel like having this show, it's almost like cheating on some level because we're sort of hacking a lot of super experienced folks' knowledge and just absorbing all this content. And I think it helps us punch above our weight class.
Totally.
But hey, you know what? Let's anyone listening can get the same value from it.
And that's why we, that's what we like to do, to bring it to you all. And that's why we love when people say, oh, you helped me with my training or figuring out what races to do or even what gear or whatever. I mean, that stuff is just so great. And, I also, it was a good feeling, finishing this race and doing it. And yeah, we probably could have gone, 5 or 7 or 10 minutes faster if we really would have been pressing on some bits a little bit harder. But it was a really good confidence booster for us on many different levels and aspects of it, and just feeling even more prepared and feeling good about the world champs.
Yeah. And I think it's also there was no drama. There wasn't anything that went haywire. We didn't get lost. There wasn't any sort of unexpected. I feel like we were just ready for whatever was going to come at us, and whatever did come at us, like paddles getting messed up. We're like, okay, just let that go. Yeah. Keep focusing on the goal, which is staying upright.
Yeah, and we know that something is going to happen when we're at Worlds. There's going to be some bit of adversity multiple times over, and we just are trying to be in the best place to where you can just roll with the punches, if you will.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like a dress rehearsal for that, we're definitely going into the unknown in terms of like what it's going to be like to be boots on the ground at the original swim run race. I'm just super happy with our performance, and again, one last final huge shout out to Lars, Aaron, John, Brent, the whole team. I feel like course was super well marked.
Very well marked. Aid stations were, I think, the best that I've ever seen them at an Ödyssey race.
Lots of nutrition.
They had water. It was just cut
People
and dry and
out.
clear, and it was great.
Yeah, like people were just making PB&Js for folks if you needed it.
There was a lot of PB&Js around the course.
A lot. But yeah, it was great to do this race again. I feel like it's becoming this sort of annual pilgrimage, like we mentioned at the beginning, and yeah, I mean, I can't wait.
And we got to have our awesome post-race meetup at the brewery, which was awesome to see people, and we hung out with.
And Lars and John. I mean, the race directors basically came out, were buying people beer and stuff.
That was really awesome, and so that was just cool, and just to get everyone. I mean, I guess I'm not super surprised, but it was just so cool to hear people like cheering us on they're like, okay, you guys are our team going to the world championship, like go get them. And just that kind of support and having everybody's like wind in our sails sort of was, I mean, yeah, it really keeps us going doing this thing every single week.
It's something special for sure. And, I mean, I agree. I think the post-race party, it's great to see everyone connecting and chatting and sharing their race experiences and stuff. And it's just, there just aren't that many venues for that to happen kind of in real time. So when we did it last year, it was a huge surprise that people showed up. I think folks asked us, like, who's going to the party? I'm like, we know two people are definitely going. And a third person told us that they definitely were. So we know 3 people are going to this thing at least. And this year it was just like a thing. Everyone's hanging out. It was great. And yeah, everyone's support. I think it's super humbling, and we're gonna do our best when we get out there. But yeah, it was just also super fun, man. I mean, the vibes all weekend long were great, and a lot of that starts from the top, and that's Lars and Aaron and the rest of the crew there, just kind of like, hey, this is how we do it. This is how we want to share this sport with folks, and pretty much, I mean, I didn't hear anyone. Well, no one came up to me and was like, this is bullshit or anything. Everyone was super, after crossing the finish line, especially a lot of first timers that came up to us were like, this is great. Tara and Sarah were like, we're signing up for orcas. It was great.
And our friends Team Run with Tacos, Sterling and Lolo were there, and they're doing orcas long course. Woo, giddy up. Giddy up. So that'll be fun. Darren will be cheering everyone on at orcas, as we'll still be laid up.
Yeah, it'd be nice to do orcas this year, but I don't think I can't get that many hall passes.
But so our next race is this weekend. We're doing the Folsom Swim Run in Folsom, California, a little 8-miler on their long course one, so a little bit different than what we did here in Casco Bay, but we know some local people from the Bay Area are going to be heading over to that, so we look forward to seeing there. And then back-to-back race report episodes. I haven't had that ever. So
stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. Cool. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you out there, folks. Peace. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Sign up for our newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for the show or questions for us, send us a DM or an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of all our swim run activities, podcast, and other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff. Way to keep it PG. Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Go for a run.
Then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
and then another run.
And then just keep going
So
until you're done.
you're done. Or maybe can't
And then
stop, won't
stop.
stop.